Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sim Gill. I'm a Salt Lake County District Attorney. Thank you for coming here today. This morning we're going to be talking about the walkthrough of a use of force involving Sandy Police Officer Eric Slack's use of deadly force at 11664 Eagle Bend Drive in Sandy on March 26, 2023 against Dylan William Murphy. Before I start, I just wanted to take a second to just acknowledge that my team and we met with the family of Mr. Murphy this morning for an extended period of time. And I just wanted to extend to them through our conversation our condolences for the loss of their loved one, who is somebody who is a child, a husband, a father, a sibling, and our deepest condolences to them. I told them that I would, and for their loss as well. So on March 26th of 2023, a male who we refer to as KM called 911 and reported that his brother Dylan William Murphy had attempted suicide earlier that evening by cutting his wrists and forearms. He'd taken him to the hospital, but he wouldn't go in, and there was blood all over again, and he'd taken off from the house on foot. He had been bleeding for about 20 to 30 minutes. Dispatch began providing call information to officers for a suicide attempt. Officer Slack advised that he was in the area, and he and two other officers were dispatched. And dispatch provided additional detail about the call over the radio, including that it was unknown if Mr. Murphy had weapons, he was bleeding, he had cut himself earlier and refused to go to the hospital, and that he had left on foot. Officer Slack located Mr. Murphy walking southbound on 1000 East along the west side of the sidewalk, and advised over the radio that he was going to be out with one male at the location at 10th East and Sunburn Lane. Officer Slack slowed down, shined his patrol vehicle lights on Mr. Murphy from behind. Mr. Murphy continued walking and then ran southeast across 10th East. As he did so, Officer Slack called out to him using his name, but Mr. Murphy did not stop and continued walking southbound on the east side of 1000 East. Officer Slack again slowly followed in his vehicle and advised over the radio, "We're going to be at 11640 South, 10th East. I'm just following the male. He's just walking away from me." Officer Slack followed Mr. Murphy east onto a residential street, and Mr. Murphy then ran across southeast across this road in front of Officer Slack's patrol vehicle, and then continued walking southbound on the west sidewalk. Officer Slack then advised over the radio, "He's got his right hand in his jacket. I can't see anything. He's keeping it really tight," end quote, as he continued to follow Mr. Murphy. After reaching the driveway of the second residence, Mr. Murphy walked out into the road, out ahead of Officer Slack's vehicle, with both hands concealed. Mr. Murphy walked southeast across the road, but then began walking back north towards Officer Slack's vehicle. Officer Slack quickly got out and stood inside his open door and called out, "Hey, Dylan, let me see your hands, man." Mr. Murphy started running towards Officer Slack, who backed up from the driver's door, drew his duty weapon, and hurriedly yelled, "Dylan, let me see your hands. Hands." As Officer Slack yelled, Mr. Murphy charged towards him with both hands concealed and growling. Mr. Murphy ran quickly, reaching the driver's side. Officer Slack retreated backwards around the back of the vehicle. Officer Slack yelled, "Hands," and then fired his weapon 3 times as he moved across the back of the patrol vehicle, and then fell backwards over the curb line on the passenger side of the vehicle. Mr. Murphy, after reaching the vehicle's rear passenger corner area, turned and walked away behind the back of the vehicle. As he got back up, Officer Slack continued yelling, "Hands, let me see your hands, show me your hands." Well, meanwhile, Mr. Murphy was in the roadway and partially removed his coat, his right arm, and still remained in it. Mr. Murphy turned to face Officer Slack and again charged toward him, growling with his right arm and hand still inside the coat sleeve. His coat was hanging off his right side, and his left hand and wrist appeared to be wrapped in some clothing. As Mr. Murphy neared the passenger corner, Officer Slack fired his weapon 2 more times, and Mr. Murphy fell to the ground on the passenger side of the vehicle. Officer Slack continued moving quickly backwards and out in front of his vehicle, keeping his weapon pointed at Mr. Murphy, and attempted to advise of shots fired over his portable radio. It should be noted at this point that Officer Slack's portable radio batteries had died, and although he was making that effort, and we pick it up on the body-worn camera, he was not yet probably communicating with on that radio. And then turned on his handgun tactical light, illuminating Mr. Murphy, who was lying on his side with his back towards Officer Murphy. Officer Slack yelled, let me see your hands." And Mr. Murphy pulled his hand out from under his body and his right hand out from the sleeve of his coat and placed both hands in front of him while laying prone on top of his coat. Officer Slack gave multiple commands to roll over. Mr. Murphy rolled onto his belly with his both hands still extended out in front of him. Officer Slack then commanded, "Keep your arms out." With his weapon light still pointed at Mr. Murphy, Officer Slack again attempted to advise of shots fired on his portable radio. Mr. Murphy moved his arms closer to his body, appeared to attempt to push himself up. Officer Slack began commanding, "Stay on the ground." Mr. Murphy then brought both arms closer to him, again appearing to attempt to push himself off the ground, and Officer Slack again commanded, Stay on the ground, I will shoot." As Mr. Murphy pushed himself to a kneeling position with his hands, forearms in front of him on the ground, Officer Slack commanded louder, "Stay on the ground." As Mr. Murphy continued to move, Officer Slack again commanded, "Hey, stay on the ground." Mr. Murphy pushed himself to a standing position and began walking towards Officer Slack, who had started to retreating backwards. As Mr. Murphy began walking towards Officer Slack, he looked directly at him with his both hands appearing empty, and Officer Slack again commanded, "Hey, stay on the ground," as he continued to move backwards. As Mr. Murphy strode quickly forward, his hands were balled up into fists. He appeared to flex in front of him, and his teeth appeared clenched. Mr. Murphy continued to advance, taking 9 steps towards Officer Slack, and Officer Slack fired his weapon 1 more time. Mr. Murphy immediately fell to the ground on his hands and knees and then on his back. Officer Slack moved to the driver's side of his vehicle, keeping his weapon pointing at Mr. Murphy, opened his door, and advised over the car radio, "Shots fired." And we noticed that when he used the car radio, that definitely was different than his battery on his other radio. Then he got out and pointed his weapon at Mr. Murphy. Officer Slack got into his vehicle again to initiate his emergency vehicle's overhead lights and advised of his location. Mr. Murphy's brother neared the scene, and Officer Slack commanded him to get back and then got back on the radio. Officer Slack got back out of his vehicle, kept his weapon pointed at Mr. Murphy as he waited for officers to arrive. After additional officers arrived on the scene, officers approached and began rendering emergency medical aid to Mr. Murphy. However, Mr. Murphy succumbed to his injuries and was declared deceased on the scene. The available evidence, and specifically Officer Slack's body-worn camera recording, captures Officer Slack firing a total of 6 rounds at Mr. Murphy in 3 separate volleys, which spanned approximately 1 minute and 16 seconds. Notably, about 1 minute and 40 seconds elapsed between when Officer Slack first attempted to make contact with Mr. Murphy and when Mr. Murphy turned towards him and the final encounter began. The other thing I want to note is that post-autopsy findings, the ME found that Mr. Murphy was hit by 4 shots, 2 to his chest, one shot on his left wrist and one shot on his right forearm. The other thing that is important that was found is that the Dr. Ho, who performed the medical autopsy, also reported in the postmortem toxicology results and noted that the combination of morphine, codeine, and 6-monoacetyl morphine, which is indicative of heroin, was present in Mr. Murphy's body. Let me sort of set this for you in a couple of ways. One, there were only two individuals who were there. There was Mr. Murphy, and there was Officer Slack. When the canvass was done, although some individuals heard the shots, no one saw what happened at the scene. And we have two sets of videos, one from the body-worn camera, and Sandy police cars also have dash cam, and so we had those to review as a team. The things that I want to sort of go at, so we'll start with the first one. Again, I want to be cautious. This is a bit graphic as we proceed, but this video, the first one, which is the patrol car cams and body-worn Officer Slack's video, this video cuts together the body cam of Officer Slack as well as the dash camera that you will see on the left side. The left side video does switch to the rear camera in the patrol car at times, and when the interaction between Officer Slack and Mr. Murphy switches to the back of the vehicle. So you'll see that switch that'll occur. Then it will go back to the dash cam when they move to the front of the vehicle. And here you will see Officer Slack as he initially approaches Dylan. So this is Officer Slack's vehicle. This is Dylan right here. The call has come out. He's identified that he's located him. He shines his light on him. He's non-responsive to that, but you will see he will take note. He turns and looks at it, knows that it's the police officer. This is on that west side, and he will eventually come here and then cross across the street, going from the main street, going into the residential area. Officer Slack gets out, yells to him. This car's parked. So that's Officer Slack.
We're going to be at 11640.
Dylan goes across the street, going deeper into the residential area.
Just walking away from me.
There's Dylan right here. He pauses for a second, takes a step.
Just 1014. He's got his right hand in his jacket. I can't see anything. He's just keeping it really tight.
He's crossing, but watch.
Dylan, let me see your hands, man. Dylan, let me see your hands. Hands! Hands!
He falls down.
Let me see your hands.
Dylan does a circle.
Dylan, shots fired. Shots fired.
That does not go through.
Let me see your hands. Roll over. Come on, man. Let me see. Roll over. On your belly. 297, shots fired. Stay on the ground.
His radio is not going through.
Stay on the ground. I will shoot. Stay on the ground. Hey, stay on the ground. Hey, stay on the ground. Stay on the ground.
And this goes through. And this established that context that of the initial originally charging, the shots that he tries to retreat to the back of the car, he's right on him when he fires that first volley of shots. This was one continuous event where we identified 3 sets of shootings, right? The first shots that were fired behind the vehicle. And as that's happening quickly, you will notice also that Officer Slack fell down and was on his back. And at that moment, you see Dylan kind of do like a half circle, gather himself, and then charge back at the officer when the second round of shots were fired. And then the commands that he gives to him at the third, when he finally gets up and starts moving. We went down and measured that out and looked at the scene. The camera sometimes can be a little misleading, but our best estimate was that as he's yelling commands to him in the third volley, he's taking 9 steps towards him, and he gets somewhere between about 3.5 feet to 4 feet to him before he fires the last round. So what we wanted to do was that then we took the same evidence that we had, and here's a slowed down version of the video just saw. And this is as Dylan's first approaches Officer Slack. So we were able to slow that down. So go ahead and play that. So he gets a running start, and he can see him. He's going on gun, but he's going to continue to retreat. He's trying to not fire. He's coming around, so he's going to go around the back. You'll see him moving. And when he's right within that, that's when you see the fire, the first volley occur. He goes down at that point. You see Dylan sort of walk around. He's still yelling to him, hands. And he recovers. The dash cam caught it. We were able to see that. His jacket is still with him. And then he starts to gather himself to run at him again. He kind of see him bend down, and he charges the officer again. And the second volleys of shots are fired. You can see the water still on the officer from the ice and where he fell down on the pavement there. So that continued to sort of show us the exigency that was being created on the officer at that time. So here's the next one is a shortened a car cam as we go into the last volley of shots. Again, slowed down. He's been yelling commands at him. And Dylan is going to go at him. We see him balling up his fists. You'll see him actually flex a bit. Right there. His fists are balled up. And this was that distance that I'm talking about. Right there, when that shot's fired, there's a distance of about 3.5 to 4 feet is what we're estimating that is. So the other things were just, again, as I mentioned, so the next one is, again, him getting up. You can see him sort of starting to ball up his fist there. Another one, his hands are balled up again as he's going towards him. And this, again, gave us that distance. There's his front of his foot right here, and the distance between Dylan and him at the time when that last volley is fired. This was sort of again, that neighborhood. This was, again, as I said, about 1 o'clock in the morning. There were just the two of them. So that was the main road that was up here. They came down. Dylan comes down here. He comes down, and as the officer comes, there's a moment where Dylan pauses, looks at him, and looks like he's going to take a step towards him, and then changes his mind, and he comes across. As he comes there, you can see on the video as he crosses, kind of does a little banana over here. The officer is parked, and you can see him as he starts to turn. That's when the officer is coming out of the door, yelling at him, calls him by name. And as he starts to perceive that Dylan is now taking a full stride run at him, that's when the officer starts to back. You can see actually in the shadow, the officer goes on gun, but does not fire at him. And it's not until the officer, it goes around, and he's approximately here when that first volley is fired. Dylan circles around from this area like this. The officer has fallen down at that point, and as he gets up and Dylan charges him again, he fires that second volley, getting himself to here, giving him commands, and then Dylan again gets up the third time and is now going at the officer one last time when the officer waits to the very last moment and he fires. As we went through this, our concern was, we looked at, as I said, one continuous event and 3 volleys of shots that were fired. We can segregate the first 2 into those by the car, and we looked really closely to the third volley. As Officer Slack did not give us a statement, and so we were left to try to look objectively what we could discern from that. And our conclusion was that certainly that what the officer knows, that he's been charged at twice. He knows that he's fallen down. He's alone. His call is not going in, but he doesn't know that. And he's commanded this person multiple times to stay down. And when he gets up, our conclusion was that Dylan had no other intent other than to go at the officer, knowing that the officer had the gun, and he was going to continue to go at the officer. And at that point, taking it into the totality of the 3 shootings collectively, our conclusion is that we declined to file charges on this, and that the affirmative defense of justification would be available to the officer. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time. Yes?
I have a series of questions. So, all right, first of all, this has taken 2 years to get to
Yeah.
this point. Is that indicative at all was it a hard decision to reach in this one?
Yes, it was. We had multiple conversations. We had multiple discussions. This was an absolute tragic event that happened. The context of this, we went back and forth over a desire to get somebody help, somebody who is already, so what was known was that Dylan had attempted suicide. He was taken to the hospital. The hospital, he wouldn't go to the hospital. He refused to enter in. He came back home, and he either tried to cut himself again. One of the family members found some blood there. Then he goes out on foot. Young man who's clearly in crisis. Officer Slack, I think, is trying to respond on a welfare check. He's concerned, but he's also concerned that he cannot see his hands. And so we went back to this, all of this as a collective thing, but that last shooting was of really concerned that where we struggled back and forth. And although we wanted to be able to isolate that last shooting, but we could not remove it from the context of the first 2 actions that occurred.
What would you say, though, that people say, at this point, he's clearly not carrying a knife?
Sure, absolutely.
Standard flinch, but he doesn't have a deadly weapon on him.
That's right.
He's already been shot twice.
Yes.
I mean, is it reasonable to holster your gun and pull out a taser at that point, or is that unreasonable?
I think that it's happening, again, I don't have what's going through the officer's mind. But what I can say is that it is not unreasonable that he should be afraid. He's been charged at twice. He's by himself. He's fallen down, and he's got his gun. He's commanding him, he's telling him, please stop, stay where you are. I will shoot. So as we went back and forth, it was also that we couldn't avoid the fact that his intent was to get to the officer. The officer is giving him commands. He's by himself, and it is happening in his experience there. We can certainly look at it with the luxury of where we are, but we had to put it in the context of all three, and that was the difficult part of it. And even if we were to file criminal charges, I cannot avoid the first two contexts as one continuous episode that comes through there. So, is it reasonable for that officer to be scared? Many would say yes, and that was our struggle back and forth.
Being scared and using deadly force are different things.
But I think that was the issue. The issue was that he had a imminent threat that's still coming at him, and he's himself fallen down, and he he does not have a duty to retreat. We discussed that. How much can he retreat? And at that point, the other thing was he didn't shoot him when he was getting up. He didn't shoot him when he took his first step. And you can see him still. He's still trying to navigate, and we sort of saw that. We saw him that he's got the gun. He's telling him, don't get up. I will shoot. Don't get up. And when he gets up, he doesn't shoot him then. He doesn't shoot him when he starts to come. He walks back, and he kind of stops, and he waits literally when he's almost on top of him, and he fires that last shot. So I can't tell you what's going through his mind. But what I can say to you, when I have to take it in the context of all three shootings as one continuous event, I think an argument could be made that he is afraid, and he continues to be afraid, and he fires that for his own safety.
And no weapon was found.
No weapon was found at the scene.
And I know his family was pretty critical after the shooting, saying he was in a mental health crisis, we just wanted to get help.
Yeah.
When you talk to them.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time talking about the failure of the system when it comes to folks who are suffering from mental health issues. We talked about that they talked about how they had tried to get him to go to the hospital. They had talked about how previously he had been gone to the hospital, given other issues, just given medication and released. And so they're clearly, of course, heartbroken, but they understand also, as one of them said, Dylan was a big man, and Dylan can be intimidating. And Dylan can be, he can engage with you. But he was clearly suffering. The toxicology demonstrated multiple different substances on him. And the family, of course, is saddened by their loss, but they were also very frustrated that they could not get the kind of help that they needed for him that he needed to have as well.
And finally, just to reiterate a point, I think it's important. Backup seemed extremely slow coming, but now we were learning it's because nothing was going through when he was calling for backup.
So he certainly, when he's using his radio in the car, that's clearly communicating. But when he is on foot and he's hitting and saying shots fired, his battery was dead. And that was not going through. And I can't tell what's going through his mind. What I can say is that he's by himself in a residential neighborhood, and he just got charged by somebody, and he waits to the very last second to fire that first set of shots at him. I don't know if he knows he hit him or not, but he falls on his butt. He goes back down. He takes a hard fall. He's trying to get himself oriented. As he gets up, he sees Dylan charge at him again a second time. He fires. He gets back. You can see his body is drenched with water. He hit the snow and ice there. He gets up. He's yelling commands. He's, I think, trying to maintain wait to see where his backup is. And he gets up, and Dylan has one intent, which is to get to the officer. And what transpires is a tragic outcome where we are. And that was what we talked to the family about this morning, right? And again, I just want to again emphasize, I want to apologize to them for their loss of their loved one. And that was their concern. But they also know who Dylan is, and they also understood what the situation was, and they were absolutely frustrated also by the fact that here's somebody who needs help, but the system is such that they can't get access to help in the way. And it's that mixture of mental health issues, getting access, not having access, dealing with someone who was intent on trying to commit suicide that evening. And I don't like to use this word very often, but that there's the term suicide by cop. And as one person sort of intimated, that was his intent that night. His intent was to commit suicide, and he went at the officers with that purpose in mind. Yes.
Leslie with KUTV 2 News.
Yeah.
First question, who did you talk to from the family?
I'm not going to give you specific names. I can tell you that I had there's two groups of folks who came down here. They came and talked. His immediate family and also his extended family who he has relations with.
And again, another series of questions. Given the previous history, knowing it was a suicide attempt, why did not more officers arrive to the scene with this?
That's a great question for you to ask for Sandy Police Department. Our issue, that our job is to look at when the shooting occurs and to see whether I can criminally charge that conduct or not. In terms of process, protocols, in terms of any training that they've had. I've said that before in previous sort of mental health issues, that I encourage law enforcement, not just there was a law our office worked with to help change the law that requires that law enforcement officers get every year training on it. And each agency probably needs to be much more diligent in making sure that they train not only what you do when you're interacting with somebody who may have mental health issues, but what is your institutional protocol response that you should have when you're confronting those situations. So to your previous question, that I can't answer that. That's something that only Sandy can answer.
Continuing with that question, do you think that if the radio would have worked, the outcome would be different, or if more officers would have arrived?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, right? I don't know what the interaction would have been. I don't know whether that would be calming or that's alarming, that you're not hearing a response back. I don't know. But what it was important, that's what we discovered in our investigation, that he's calling, saying shot fired, but we know that's not going through.
Why did it take so long to release this information?
That's a great question, because I don't have resources. I have too many shootings, and we try to do our very best that we can. We spend a lot of time, because when people die in our community, we want to make sure that we're as thorough as we can be. So when they come in, we try to queue them up, and we try to get to them as fast as we can. So this was not, this process that we've done wasn't a process that existed in our office. It's a process that we built out, where I have multiple people who devote a lot of time. So it's not just going through the initial investigation, their presentment, but then we ourselves go through everything. We go through every dispatch log, we look for history, we review all the stuff, and we go through it. And then we sit down to try to make the best decision that we can. Sometimes we have statements for officers, sometimes we don't have statements for officers. Sometimes these are very tragic and very close calls, and we want to try to be as candid, transparent as we can be. And all of that takes time and effort. And the sad reality is lethal force is in our community. I wish we didn't have to use it, but there are times when it has to be used. And you can look at the number of times we do it. So as long as lethal force is going to be used, we're going to do our very best diligence, so it takes time to do that. I'd be much more happy if my council or legislature wants to give me another 5 more attorneys to do it, so we can keep this dialogue with the community going. but we do the best that we can with the lack of assets that we don't have. Any other questions? I just want to reiterate again, a tragic loss. And unfortunately, tragedies like this continue to remind us that, how much more work we need to do collectively when it comes to issues of mental health issues. And these are just always tragic losses. There are no, there's no winners here. Thank you.